basically the message of The Secret is the message that I've been trying to share with the world on my show for the past 21 years. The message is that you're really responsible for your life. You are responsible for your life. I've known this. I've known this since The Color Purple. In 1985, I've probably told you the story when I did The Color Purple, but in 1985, I did The Color Purple. Prior to that, I had read the book, Larry. Now, this is when I got The Secret thing, but I didn't know it was called The Secret. I read the book, The Color Purple, and then went out and got books for everybody else I knew. And I was obsessed about this story. Obsessed about it. I ate, slept, thought all the time about The Color Purple. I moved to Chicago. I get a call from a casting agent asking, would I like to come and audition for a movie? I've never gotten a call in my life from anybody for a movie or anything like that. And I say, is it The Color Purple? And he says, no, it's a movie called Moonsong. And I go, well, I've been praying for The Color Purple. And I go to the audition, and of course it was The Color Purple. I audition. I don't hear anything for months. And I go to this fat farm, and I think it's because I'm fat, because I was about 212 pounds at the time. And I think I didn't get the call back because I'm so fat. And I'm at this fat farm, and I'm praying and crying, saying to God, help me let this go. Because I wanted to be in this movie so much. I wanted it, I wanted it, I wanted it. I thought I was going to be in the movie. There's all these signs that I should be in the movie. And I go to this fat farm, and I'm praying and crying. And as I'm on the track singing this song, I surrender all, I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. I'm singing that song, praying and crying. A woman comes out to me, and she says, on the track, it's raining, and she says, there's a phone call for you. And the phone call was Steven Spielberg saying, I want to see you in my office in California tomorrow. Now, what I learned from that, that moment absolutely changed my life forever, because I had drawn The Color Purple into my life. I didn't know Steven Spielberg. I didn't know Quincy Jones, who saw me in Chicago. In 1984, he was there for a lawsuit that was being filed against Michael Jackson because he'd been working on his Thriller album. And he saw me on AM Chicago and said, that's Sophia. Now, I didn't know him. I didn't know anybody that had anything to do with that. But I knew that I had drawn that into my life, and it changed the way I thought about my life forever.
It is just a bunch of fucking coincidences. You hear the way she ramblingly tells his story and just sort of winds around in and out. She was at a fat farm, and then Steven Spielberg called her. She was a famous person.
Abracadabra.
And she'd expressed interest. And then, but you know, back in the 80s, Quincy Jones, and like, that has, it is just... Did she ever stop to think that maybe she was just right for the part and she was a public person and people knew who she was?
No, that's not part of this story. That doesn't make a good magical narrative.
That's not magical. That's not magic.
Welcome to Wet Wired. I'm Julian Paul Butt.
And I'm Sean Ondas. The law of attraction permeates the world of self-help and spirituality. In this magical world, everything you think you know about the causal nature of reality is just fucking wrong. All that you experience, all that you have and are, is a consequence not of anything you've done in your life, it's the vibrations that you attract. You don't have to explain the mechanism or prove the results, because it's all self-evident. If you don't get what you want, you just weren't wishing hard enough. And if you want something, all you need to do is believe.
Even if you've never heard the words, the law of attraction, you've heard its message from pop singers and film stars. Even Peter Pan knows this one weird trick to flying. You think of a wonderful thought. However, you've probably heard of the law of attraction from the 2006 film, The Secret. The messenger behind the message Esther Hicks got the idea from 100 ghosts, whom she channels in seminars for her captivated audiences, in books, and even on cruises. Without The Secret, we wouldn't know Esther and her spooky friends, and without Esther Hicks, there would be no film.
And we would all be poorer for it. The Law of Attraction made a splash in pop culture with The Secret, which largely drew from the works of Jerry and Esther Hicks, a couple who had been teaching the Law of Attraction for about 20 years at the point that the film was released. According to the Law of Attraction, your thoughts and feelings vibrate on a special frequency, and that frequency attracts the vibrations of a similar frequency. So if you want money, fame, health, or success, all you have to do is have the right vibes. The idea is to draw these things, attract these things into your life. And so, as we're going to learn, the people who are teaching the Law of Attraction, they're not teaching you so much how to do new things, but they're teaching you about all the ways that you're actively repulsing these things in your life. If it sounds like the prosperity gospel, you are not wrong. The film's writer and producer, Rhonda Byrne, cut Esther from the film in the re-release within a year. But that didn't stop the Hickses' books and speaking engagements from skyrocketing in sales from the movie's popularity.
And Jerry and Esther, while Esther suffered a great deal from it initially, have got themselves into alignment about it, and the whole of the matter is that they are benefiting enormously from this exposure to The Secret. There are all kinds of people out there that are being activated to the idea that you can create your own reality and that the law of attraction abounds. We acknowledge that this woman held to her vision very tightly and created what she wanted to create. And we will say to you, especially in the context of what's going on here, what she did was not nice. It was not nice that she did to Jerry and Esther what she did. But nice is beside the point, don't you think? In other words, she came into alignment with what she wants. She gave her undivided attention to it. The universe is yielding to her. She's getting what she is wanting. And Jerry and Esther came round to understanding that for someone else to receive what they are wanting does not in any way detract from them. In other words, no one can detract from the work that Jerry and Esther are about. You see. And so this is a secret that keeps on giving. The best and the most interesting thing about all of this, and this is the thing that is stunning from our broader non-physical perspective, The Secret movie tells a story about knowledge being suppressed. That's sort of the basis of The Secret, that there are laws and things that you have not been allowed to know. And we think that by taking Abraham and Jerry and Esther's part out of The Secret, they are doing the very thing again that they used as the basis for their movie.
There's that persecuted knowledge again.
Yeah, there's so many things about that clip to talk about. First off, you see her, you can't see her because you're not watching this like we are, but you hear her, that being Esther Hicks speaking.
In the third person.
Kind of, because she's there on stage, but it's Abraham speaking through her, which is why she's referring to herself and her husband in the third person. There are quite a few points in that clip where she kind of slips up and gets a little too sort of chummy, especially when the audience starts laughing. It's almost like she couldn't help herself from laughing along with the audience. Now, we haven't introduced Abraham or what she says is going on. Abraham's supposed to be this collection of ascended
Don't give it away
beings.
ahead.
Well, hold on, because we just delivered this clip and with no explanation. We have to give the people something. Her getting goofy like this up on stage is not exactly in line with the idea of sort of ethereal beings communicating from beyond.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing about this clip, and this isn't even the content, this is all just the context of the clip that I'm still talking about, is this is like the nightmare scenario for audience participation when you go to a show. Like it's like having the comedian focus on you and ask and start talking about your date or something like that at a comedy club. Because she takes somebody from the crowd that has a question. I mean, who knows how real any of that is, but they're placed up on stage about 10 or 15 feet away from Esther Hicks, alone by themselves in a chair, and it looks like they are receiving. It's like some kind of on-stage struggle session or something, like in the Cultural Revolution. Where the person just sitting there incredibly uncomfortably in this chair with all the attention of Esther Hicks just like focusing on him or her. The audience member's back is toward the rest of the audience. So it's just this intense focus of Esther Hicks on this one person. I think so much of what you hear right there is just nervous laughing, because it's got to be insanely uncomfortable.
And then Esther Hicks goes into this diatribe of her personal affairs.
Right. And that's the other part where it's just like, yeah, she's channeling the beings and everything, but the beings seem to really be taking up the Jerry Esther Hicks cause. They're picking up that mantle. They're gonna stick up for their buddies.
Well, Esther Hicks talks about the law of attraction, but so did every other speaker on Rhonda's movie, and so did authors dating back to the 19th century. She's not really that original with these ideas. She's not the first one on the block, but she was a critical influence in this movie. And she doesn't claim that her ideas come from any of these authors. According to her, the source for her esoteric wisdom is coming from beyond the realm of flesh and blood.
She wants to make sure that she has no sort of earthly antecedents. There are no predecessors of her ideas. Her ideas specifically are coming from the void.
Yeah. And she claims that she gets her teachings of the law of attraction from a group of 100 non-corporeal entities known to her collectively as Abraham Hicks. She gets these vibrations from Abraham, and then she translates those vibrations into spoken language, which her husband, Jerry, edits in their best-selling books.
Well, edited.
Past tense. Yeah, don't give away spoilers, Sean.
Everybody knows he's dead. I don't know. Does anybody know he's dead? Did anybody know he existed?
It's like when somebody told me before watching Cameron's Titanic that it sinks in the end. I mean, come on.
Spoiler alert.
Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree? Yes. It is co-creation at its best, yes? You know you bring much more than those beautiful physical bodies you have dragged here, sitting in your clumps on chairs. For without exception, you also bring with you that broader non-physical part of you. In the same way that Esther relaxes, eventually, and allows her vibration to raise to the equivalency of that which is our frequency, then there is a seamless interfacing of non-physical and physical. And that seamless interfacing is happening all day, every day, in nearly every aspect of your world.
That's Esther Hicks getting into her channeling. And
oh yeah, she's definitely vibing hard right
here.
There.
She's really putting on the full act for us. This is when she's just getting into the trance, and she's got this vaguely transatlantic accent going on as she's presenting as Abraham. And by the way, not only does she do these seminars, but she can teach you private lessons so that you can learn how to channel non-corporeal beings yourself.
But not Abraham.
That's her shtick.
We don't want anybody channeling and checking Esther's notes.
Get your own. you got to channel them like you're catching Pokemon.
I'm really impressed how well Abraham has taken on mannerisms of a human that is speaking in front of a group of people, including little tics like constantly licking her lips and things like that. Abraham is incredibly impressive.
Now, keep in mind, Abraham's not possessing her. She's translating the vibrations. I don't know.
Yeah, that none of that really makes any sense at all when you think about it for more than a second or two. Because if she was, in fact, channeling in the way that she's describing and not being possessed, then what is up with all the third person language?
And the switch in accent.
Able to switch back and forth? Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. Now, I guess, people who've ever been around a language interpreter, you get used to the interpreter speaking, at least possibly speaking about him or herself in the third person, because the interpreter is literally translating the language of the person speaking. And sometimes those comments are going to be about the interpreter themselves.
Yeah.
So you will catch the interpreter say something in the third person, or at least, the third person if you're accepting that all of that's coming directly from the interpreter. But you're supposed to be switching over and maintaining this idea that it's all coming from the person who's speaking, who's being interpreted.
So you're saying Esther should take a few ASL classes so she can kind of get the gist of this?
I'm saying that, I'm coming around to the Esther camp, I guess. It's starting to sound more reasonable.
All right.
I might sign up for Abraham now and get the $60 a month subscription to get all these presentations. You've been listening to a sample of a Wet Wired Premium episode. To listen to this entire episode and to hear our entire back catalog, you can subscribe on Patreon for just $5 a month. We also have a limited number of $3 a month True Believer memberships, but when those run out, they are gone. Thank you for helping us keep Wet Wired editorially independent and ad-free.